We're going to look at back control and we're going to look at using the lapel to choke. Obviously there's other chokes, we can go rear nakeds and the like, but today's going to be the lapel. Now we're going to start real basic and look at when we go to the underhook side, and then we're going to look at this top side and how we can finish from there because it's a lot harder. All right, so most of you guys know this, but we've got our seat belt. If we go to the underhook side, we want to be wedged between the mat and their body as much as we physically can. And obviously you take this sometimes in the roll, so you don't have much choice, but the more you can wedge yourself around this corner here, the better off. So this is our position. Now the biggest problem you have here is people will try and shoulder run. We've talked about this because there's nothing on top of his shoulders. So he's going to try and put his shoulders to the mat and keep running out this side, right? This is your primary problem on that side. So we talk about this a lot in no-gi, but we're going to try and come around the corner and put a wedge in with our face, right? Almost like we're tucked in here on his neck. Now this is the side we go for the bow and arrow on. And the reason is we have the ability to push up and set it up, and we also have the ability to tuck our elbow behind their back. So we'll just get to this position. So say we have our hand in, not just the bow and arrow, the slide choke too, and say we have the other collar. We'll start with the slide choke. It's very easy, see how I push my foot here? To push him up. So I can push with my hands and I can push with my feet here to lift him off my body. And now I can trap the arm, this defensive arm, to take it out of play, lock our feet, and we can create a slide choke by pulling down and tucking our elbow. So it's really simple. We've done this before. We're going to start in here. I'm not going to show you how to get your hands in. This class is more about what you can do in what scenarios, okay? So we've got our thumb in. We've got this is pulling down. This elbow, the most important thing is tucking behind the back. So as I go for it, I'm nice and tight. I'm pushing away. He might be using this defensive arm. You're trying to get on top of this his bicep here, trying to break and then come over and trap his arm in. Now it's just that motion of pulling down and tucking here. Same thing applies for a bow and arrow. If I were to grab under, I can push with my feet to create this perpendicular angle, and then we can start climbing over. And this also helps me dip his shoulder toward the mat, which makes the choke stronger here as well. Right, so most of us have done this. I just want to emphasize your attacks, whether it's a slide choke or a bow and arrow, are best off on this side. If we go to this side here, very hard to do these chokes for the reason that I can't tuck my elbow behind his shoulders, especially when people pull your arm past the choke, exactly. Very hard for me to tuck my elbow behind the shoulders, and also very hard for me to cut the angle to create the choke. So just keep pulling, Ash. My legs here stuck under his body, so it's hard for me to create the choke. Doesn't mean you can't, but it's just really challenging. We've moved out to this side. Even though it's hard for me to get the bow and arrow or the lapel choke here, I'll still open his collar and just get my thumb in, regardless of how low it is on his lapel. Now, usually he's going to be defending in some capacity. Some people will pull their top knee up, they'll scoop this hook off really quick, and I'll actually let him get out. He's trying to get out, I'll let him get out. Go back a step. Sometimes, if he won't go, I'll actually put a hook behind his leg, drop my own hook out, and give him a go along, all right? Like, come on, let's get going. Now, once I'm here, it's really important that I cup the shoulder so he can't run that way. He can't turn to his knees. So this pulls him back to the mat. I throw my legs back, and the elbow must tuck under. Really tight here. So see how it comes right under his shoulder blades. Now we can just walk away, keep this nice and tight. I lift, and sometimes I can just finish here, or I can put a barrier behind and finish here. So, all the same thing. He pushed me to this top side arm. I was only able to get my thumb in really shallow here. So we just talked about this. I'm either going to kick him out myself, or he'll lift his knee to his face, scoop my hook off. It's very common. And he'll scoop this hook off, and he'll start trying to run on his terms. Now, say I go for this choke. So say I start coming through, tuck my elbow behind, pull his shoulder down, but he's really strong here, and I cannot get it to work. So I'm trying, it's not working, he's resisting. Once I get to this position, I just sit him up, but I keep my bicep behind his neck so his head's still stuck in. So I'm just walking forward here. All we do now is we'll open his arm. That'll give us space to throw our leg through. And then I'm gonna do it gentle. But I lift. You'll have to take your bicep off a little bit. I throw over. And we'll see here, we've landed on the optimal side for our slide choke and our bow and arrow. Now we're on the underhook side again. So I've lifted him, I've thrown through, and we can get back to work on our slide or on our bow and arrow. So all we're doing, we're going from the side that's challenging to choke him on, and eventually landing on the side where we can get the choke. Now, obviously, when you do it in real life, you can launch yourself through there, right? Like, maybe not in here if you want friends, but in a comp, you can go for that, right? You can throw over hard. Do you want to see that again? Yep, so one more time here with Ash. So we've landed on the top side. I've fed my thumb in wherever I can get it. He's managed to get out. I've tried to run backwards and hit this choke, but he's really tough and I can't get the right angle. I keep my bicep behind his neck so he can't just slip out. And I run him forward, and then I just lift this arm up. Now there's a bit of disconnect here, so you've got to be quick. So as soon as you lift, I throw this leg over, and then we land on the side we want to be on, and we can hit our slide choke or our bow and arrow options. So we've landed on the underhook side, which is always the objective for those chokes. Does that make sense? So that's always an option. Last option here, we're just going to face this way. If they're really strong and you can't pin this shoulder to the mat, so all the same, so we've come to this side, I fed through, maybe this time I give him the go along, I kick him out, I come up and I can't hold him here and he starts trying to roll out this way. We can just change our configuration. Watch how my legs change here. So one over as he rolls, one, foot up, he keeps rolling, and I'm just going to grab onto his wrist. So grabbing his wristwatch here. Now all I'm going to do is I'm going to get my knee on this side, over his shoulder line, head to the mat, and we can start rolling up toward our own hip. So we can go into a clock choke. You can also push here with a thigh pry, that's an option. Or you can try and grab, cross lapel. It's just that's kind of fiddly. The question in the clock choke was, what grip is best? So we have our hand in the lapel here. You can go on the arm here and flare, so pushing his elbow out that way. But you have to understand that often they can still roll and face you. So if you just try and turn in toward me, yeah, like a gator roll, exactly, and roll. See how that undoes the choke. Go back. So I would say that's the weakest on your hierarchy. That's the weakest grip you can have. You can have a thigh pry, which is like a tricep extension here. This is not too bad if he tries to roll and face me. It's a little bit harder for him, right? Because his knee is splayed out. This, sit up Ash, I think is the best one. I think even if he does roll and face me, you can often still get it anyway, because you can still pull in and pull down. So go back down. If I go round to the clock out here, even if he rolls and faces me, it's a slide choke. It's not really going to stop it. So that's the best. 2 collars, in my opinion, is the best grip. One other thing Greg was pointing out, I believe, is if you do the clock choke in the old school high body style, meaning high head, so I come over his shoulder here and go high head, he can just start lifting up and start relieving pressure on me. So that's where the problem can come with the high head one, right? I'm not saying it can't work, but that can be the failure. You really have to keep his head pushed down to the mat. I think that's why this low head one's come into popularity, where people come over the shoulder and they cover his head with essentially their belly, and then keep walking around to 12 o'clock.